Hello and welcome. It is All For United. Happy New Year. It's 2024. It's not my first show for the team, obviously, because Dan took one during the middle of the week, but it's the first time I've seen you in 2024. So hello, everyone, and welcome back. And you'll notice we have an infiltrator today because we're trying to change it up just a little bit in terms of how we get on before games and trying to get a little bit more of a different voice on there as well. So that's the basic plan. We'll see how it goes, see how it works. Works lovely over on our sister channels. I'm sure it'll work well over here as well. We've got Charlie over from Central Wigan there, who's nowhere near Central Wigan. He's more like Central New York by the sounds of things. Just unmute you. How are you doing, Charlie?
I'm doing good. Yeah, I got to New York State, end of 2023, like December 30th, I think. So I'm just here for a little bit and trying to follow Wigan from over here is a little bit more difficult. It's only 3:30 in the afternoon here, so I have to work everything 5 hours out of sync.
Well, John Commode, who is here right now, knows all about that as well because he's just moved over to America. So who knows? I don't think anywhere near you. I would say pop round for a cup of tea. It's the same time difference. It's a little bit of a trek, I think, from where he is. And of course, we have two regulars, people that you'd know. We've got my old mate, the host, Mr. Dan, over there. How are you getting on, sir?
Oh, living the dream as always. Can't wait to discuss what's going to happen on Monday.
Very good. And then, of course, just below me there, we've got Tone. How are you getting on, young man?
First show of the year. Happy New Year, everyone. Look, glad to be back. Bit weird, not playing for a couple of days now, but lots of things to talk about, to be fair, because it's going to be an interesting fixture, this one.
Absolutely, it certainly will be. You're not wrong. And hello, of course, to John, of course, and to NT and Dave, who are in the chat already. So, well, I mean, there's so many different avenues we could end up going down for this one. But I suppose really the first thing I want to do is just pop back into history just briefly because it's been a while since we've played Wigan. 2017, Jose Mourinho was the manager. Remember him? All those years ago, we've had a few since him. And Luke Shaw and Anthony Martial started that game, and they're still here. One, of course, is a world-class player, and the other is Luke Shaw. Just waiting to see what Tony did there. He's got a thing about Luke Shaw.
I'm just laughing at this point in the Luke Shaw comments.
He's loving it. He's loving it. There we go. Luke Shaw's number one fan. But it was a good game. We won 4-0. It was an FA Cup game as well. So I just thought we'd start off with a quick quiz. Can you remember the 4 goal scorers in that game?
Louis Saha
was not on the list.
I was joking.
In 2017?
No. He was from 2006 when we beat Wigan 4-0 as well.
Oh,
Rooney. I was hoping
Rooney
John
scored.
would get the joke.
Marouane Fellaini, he's got to be on there.
Marouane Fellaini, absolutely. He's one of them.
What about Rooney? Is he on there? 2017?
Rooney's not on there, no. This is why I asked the question, because it's 4 of the most random goal scorers I think I've ever seen on a Man United goal scoring list. So you got Fellaini.
Ander Herrera?
He's not there. I'll give you a clue. He went to Arsenal.
Danny Welbeck.
Danny Welbeck, yeah.
Henrik Mkhitaryan.
He knows more about United than we do.
They battered us 4-0. It sticks in your mind.
Do you know what I mean? We've got the German midfielder.
What's his name now?
Schweinsteiger.
I kept thinking about Schneiderlin for a second there because Schweinsteiger.
And the last one was, many people know Maidstone beat Stevenage 1-0 today, which I'm sure about. But Chris Smalling indeed was the other one. So how about that? That's you would have expected that to have been the 4 goal scorers, really, would you? But there we are. That's where we are. Dan, we've got Wigan coming up. We're going to get into all the nuts and bolts about who could be available and that sort of thing. But let's just kick off with the FA Cup. Think about and tell us about, rather than just thinking, because nobody just wants to watch you think. That's boring. But tell us a little bit about the FA Cup, what it means to you. Is it a special thing? Do you think it's still as special anymore? And are you looking forward to this game against Wigan?
I like the FA Cup. I've got fond memories of the FA Cup. I used to follow a team called Hereford back in the day when I was a kid because they was a big fan of an FA Cup upset or two. But no, I think it's losing some of its magic, to be honest. They need to change the format a little bit. Like we've seen, I think you should get rid of replays. Absolutely no need for the replays in terms of just give, because I know the lower clubs need the money from the replays and stuff like that. Just give them more of the gate money in the first place. So we haven't got to have the replays. I think I was just watching something earlier, and every single Premier League team has gone through, bar Burnley, who lost to Spurs, which is not good in terms of probability for us, because it means that if there's going to be an upset, it's going to be us on Monday night now. So yeah, I've got huge fond memories of the FA Cup. It's something that I think more teams should try and win. Teams like Spurs, Newcastle, even us at the minute, should be going for a competition like this and trying to win a trophy. It'd be interesting to see what side he puts out Monday. I'm just hoping that it's a positive result for us. And to be fair, it's not even a case of wanting an FA Cup run. We need an FA Cup run this year. Otherwise, the season's pretty much done.
You are, of course, absolutely spot on. And Box has just put on there, is just the last significant game of the season in terms of success if we're knocked out? Well, I mean, we're not going to win the league. That's highly unlikely. We can't win either the Carabao or the European Cup because we're out of them. So, yeah, go out of the FA Cup. That's pretty much it. Fourth becomes a trophy, which nobody really wants. Charlie, first of all, thank you for popping on and joining us over here. Tell me a little bit about the FA Cup from your side of things. I mean, John's just put on there about fond memories of the FA Cup final in 2013. And if I'm scraping my head, I think that might have been the year that we played you. But what sort of memories do you have?
Oh, I mean, we love it. I mean, it's probably our best ever day is that final where Ben Watson put it past Joe Hart for us to win it. And it's something that, like you're talking about the magic of the FA Cup there, and it kind of losing it a little bit for lower league sides like us. I mean, obviously we were in the Premier League when we won it, and I think we won it and then got relegated something like 3 or 4 days later. And I would never give up the FA Cup win to stay in the Premier League. I'm glad that we won the FA Cup, and obviously it led to it was a poor season overall, but we ended up winning. And then the next season, we got knocked out by Arsenal in the semi-final, thanks to Per Mertesacker. We were winning that one, and then he leveled it, and then he went to penalties, and we lost. But yeah, it's something that lower league sides love. Maidstone beating Stevenage today. I didn't expect that. I thought Stevenage were going to steamroll them, to be honest, and they didn't. And it's something that is very, very special with the magic of the FA Cup. I wish that the TV people just change the fixtures, show a Maidstone versus a Stevenage. I don't need to see 2 Premier League sides going at it. We see that all the time on TV. There's not going to be a big upset in them. So give it to the lower leagues. And I think it's also hugely beneficial for us because, like United are looking at it, if you progress, you go to the 4th round. It's something that you can try and gain success in this season. If you win it, great trophy for United. But for us, we're also looking at it by round. Okay, how much prize money can we win in that to get through the first round to the second round? I think we gained something like 100,000 in what do you call it, prize money. And then if we go through into this one and we go into the 4th round, that's huge for a club like us, especially with all the financial turmoil that we've been going through. So yeah, I love it. A little bit of a distraction from the league, but yeah, I hope we can go as far as we can this season.
Absolutely sounds just about spot on. Where's it gone? That's really quite annoying. I thought I had it. Oh, yeah, it is, Connor. I knew it was there somewhere. 100% on the TV picks this ones this time around are absolutely shocking. They didn't fill me full of joy. But then, I mean, you look at it, Middlesbrough Aston Villa was pretty pants today. 1-0, I think Villa squeaked by in the end. Chelsea smashed Preston in the end. But if it had been the other way around, Middlesbrough get a goal or Preston get a goal, all of a sudden it's the magic of the FA Cup again. So I suppose it just kind of depends on it. But I'm with you. I mean, I don't think much happened in the Stevenage Maidstone game. It probably wouldn't have been a barnstormer. But you never do know before you pick them. But absolutely, I would agree. If it's the lowest placed team in the FA Cup and they're in the 3rd round, 100% that should have been on the telly, not reduced just to a 60-second highlight package of somebody being bundled down and a penalty being scored. Although, I do have to say, did anybody see, I don't know if he did or not, but have you seen the video of the guy scoring the goal and he's got like the the bit of tissue or whatever it is stuck up his nose, and it's brilliant because you're just seeing this bloke celebrating who's like, yeah, look what I've just done, and you just sort of like, your face isn't going to work with that. You're looking all cool, but you've got tissue up your nose, mate. So it's not quite working for me. Tone, you're a little bit young, certainly younger than myself and Dan. How do you? That woke him up. What sort of memories have you got of the FA Cup, and are you looking forward to Monday?
Yeah, I love the FA Cup. People say we should get rid of cups all the time, but I think the FA Cup is a staple of British football and history. I don't think it should ever be, the big team should ever be removed from it. And I do agree with everyone that the lower seeded teams should be prioritised on TV because of the money that it generates for them. I do believe that replays are a big thing not for the bigger clubs. I understand it's a credence to them and a bit of an annoyance, but for the smaller clubs, like you think about Burton Albion in 2005, or 2006, them drawing against us and then getting that replay at Old Trafford, that saved their club. I read that the other day and I was thinking, it just made me remember that game because I was like so annoyed about it. But the FA Cup, the final used to be like the biggest day of the year. Like it used to be a proper day where you'd wake up in the morning, all the TV highlights and everything building up to this 3 o'clock kickoff. It'd be the only game on TV that day, the only game in the country, really. And the 2005 FA Cup final between Man United and Arsenal was the first time I cried at a football game. And my friend who was an Arsenal fan said, if you cry hard enough, they might have a rematch. And, and I still remember that to this day. 20-something years on, and I still remember that line. It'll always sink me, but I love the fact that there's a chance that everyone's got a puncher's chance of winning the FA Cup, which is the great thing. Like, you know what I mean? I remember Wigan's journey to winning the FA Cup with Ben Watson's goal, and I remember the documentary you did for that, like the lead up when Ali Al-Habsi's parents showed up to Wembley and found out that Joel Robles was playing in goal. It's the funniest bit ever. They turned all the way from Oman and he's not even playing in the final. It just makes you laugh. But yeah, the FA Cup for me, it's going to be, I think it's going to be a really interesting game and I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, I think I agree mostly with what you guys have got to say there. Dave said his son's a season ticket holder at Wigan, so they'll be there on Monday night. That's the thing, isn't it? It's quite local as well to Manchester, so it's a bit of a local derby there as well. Connor's saying it's a tough one on replays. I mentioned before my local Worcester 2014 took Scunthorpe to the replay, and the chance to play at home against a team multiple leagues above was incredible. I'm going to take you back to before some of you were born, 1997. It was the year after I'd moved to Stevenage, and Stevenage had just been denied. It was back in those horrible days where you could just be denied promotion. We'd bounced up a load of the non-league pyramid. We got to the conference. We won the league, and we were basically told you can't go up because your ground's not ready, which was just depressing as anything. It took us a long time before we finally got ourselves back up. But the next season, we found ourselves in the 4th round of the FA Cup, and we drew Newcastle. And there was a big old thing that went out on the newspaper that shall not be named, about trying to get loads of people to come to Broadhall Way to watch the match. And it was unbelievable. Like, we had an extra bit of a stand built, a temporary stand built, so that we could get the cameras on and all that sort of thing, and the gantry. And we took Newcastle to a draw. It was 1-1, and we ended up taking them to St James's Park, which of course, you get a little bit of the proceeds of that as well. But that moment of having it works the other way around as well, as you say, getting the replay and getting them to come back to your place. It really is. I think for some of these lower teams, it's not just about getting the money. It's about the day out that gives the fans that are local, because not everybody's going to travel all the way up to Newcastle to go and watch Stevenage against Newcastle. That's a long old trip. But Newcastle come to Stevenage, it's the sort of time you're going to do it. We've had them before. We beat them 3-1 just over a decade ago, I think, with the dearly departed Cheek Tiote getting sent off. So, the FA Cup's just got so many memories. It's unbelievable. And let's not forget, it's also the cup that saved Alex Ferguson's career, allegedly. So, yeah, a lot for United to be thankful about when it comes to the FA Cup. Right, let's start having a look at some of the team news and stuff like this. Tone, I'm going to come to you on this one purely because Dan's already had his say. Inexplicably, Andre Onana seems to be in line to play in goal, which it baffles me. It absolutely baffles me. How are you feeling about that Andre Onana, instead of going off to the AFCON, like Amrabat is going to be doing, instead he's going to hang around like a bad smell and stop poor old Beindir from getting in?
One part of me thinks he's dedicated to the cause in some way. Another part of me feels like he's trying to protect his spot as best he can, which you can only appreciate as a professional, that that's what he's trying to do. But if you're Beindir in this situation, you'd be feeling a bit hard done by, because you're thinking you've probably joined on the premise of, look, you've got this 6-week period when Onana goes to the AFCON where you're going to play a certain period of games, and this is going to be your moment to show what you've got. And if Onana's holding on to that because he's scared of losing his position, isn't that testament to Beindir's quality in training? To be fair, I think Monday's the perfect time for him to start. I don't like, as much as Onana is our number one goalkeeper and will be no matter what, I think Beindir, from what I've heard from all accounts that I've read about, has earned an opportunity to start in a game. And the FA Cup, not to disparage Wigan at all, it should be a game where we're playing a few players who need the minutes and need to kind of see where they're at in terms of ability and where they're going to fit into the team going forward. But it wouldn't surprise me on Monday if Onana starts in goal. Would not surprise me one bit.
I mean, Ten Hag's already said that he's available, which is, I think, is Ten Hag code for, yes, he's going to be in goal. What of it? Come and fight me if you want. Which I just don't get it. I don't.
It just seems like even when we had like Van der Sar, when Van der Sar was at United, right, and we'd start Kuszczak in goal, we'd start Ben Foster in goal. When De Gea first started, we'd start Lindegaard in goal in the FA Cup, and even when Romero came in, Romero was the second choice. We even played Heaton in a few domestic games. I don't know how either Ten Hag does not rate Beindir, or he's so assured of Onana to come good and is so pivotal to this team, but I don't feel like he is at the moment. Hopefully that changes, but for me, I think Beindir should be starting on Monday.
I mean, it was a big call from Ten Hag to come in as he did, let De Gea see his contract out without triggering the extension and letting him go, and then bringing in 2 new goalkeepers. But this is the bit that I get. He brought in 2 new goalkeepers. Why would you not want to give one of them? So the Beindir is a him signing. It's not like it's Tom Heaton sat on the bench and it's not a Ten Hag player. This is somebody who Ten Hag presumably chose to bring in. So yeah, I'm very, 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 very confused as to what's going on there. For more rants on that, please tune into my Twitter on Monday evening, because if he's starting, I'm sure I'll have something to say about it. But there we are. Dan, we'll just pop over to you for other general team news. So obviously we've got Casemiro and Martinez. They have both been training, so there's the potential that they might be in there. As I said, no Amrabat. Onana is available. Ahmad is not off to the Ivory Coast, no matter what Sky Sports might think. So therefore, he's possibly available as well. We're expecting the 3 M's of Maguire, Malacia and Mount at some point to be available in January. And of course, Shaw, Lindelof, with his groin, and Martial, who's just ill, which tends to be what he often is if he's broken down. He's just ill. He's not very well. He's available. Højlund, we don't know whether or not he'll be back in time. Reguilon has obviously gone back to Spurs, but Ten Hag says he's expecting a similar sort of squad to the game against Nottingham Forest. So what do you think, Dan? How do you see that squad being named in the starting 11?
My prediction would simply be he's going to start the same players that started against Forest. It'll be his strongest team. He's not going to change. We're not going to change the way we play. He's not going to do anything different. He's just going to keep plugging away at what he thinks works. Ultimately, whether you agree or disagree, it's what he thinks is best. I've personally been left absolutely baffled by some of the decisions recently. And now, I don't know whether we'll talk about later, but the transfer window currently, as it's standing, has got me even more baffled. It just seems like, in my opinion, Ten Hag's in defence mode. He knows that there's a bit of an uphill struggle at the minute, and he's just battening down the hatches, being in defence mode. If you're confident in your squad, you let your goalkeeper go to the AFCON, because A, it's respectful to the competition, and B, could you trust your squad? And The same as some of the. It looks like Hannibal's going to go on loan to Everton or even Sevilla at some point today, which again I find it confusing. He came in, played well for 4 or 5 games, not seen him since. He's now out on loan. Dangor looks like he might be going on loan. I'm just really baffled by it. He seems to be sticking by players that aren't doing very well, but he's sort of saying, I'm going to back you and back you and back you, like you'll come good. So, I mean, I hope they come good. I just thought, again, no disrespect to Wigan. They're in a tough moment themselves this season. I think they're down in 18th. They've won 1 of the last 5. They've got a +5 goal difference, which is better than we've got. But it should be a game that we're sort of making a few changes for and giving some people on the fringe a go. Again, another player's Palistri looks like he's going to go out possibly as a not a loan, but to be sold for 10 to 20 million. The lad's not kicked to, I think he started 3 games this season or 2 games this season, but Anthony started 21, hasn't got a goal or an assist, but yet we're still persisting. I'm just a little bit baffled at the minute, to be honest.
Just to play devil's advocate in regards to the Onana, I'm thinking about it now. Had Onana been another player representing a team in the African Cup of Nations, say Fernandez played for Ghana, and he wanted to stay as long as he could, would we be having the same argument, or is it just because of the fact Onana's not been the greatest this season?
For me, Tone, to be honest, in the Premier League, Onana statistically is backed up quite well. He's doing all right. He's in like the top 3 or 4. So, I in terms of performance, I get it. I just think, and I said it on the last stream actually, in terms of the AFCON in general, we would never ever see a club say to FIFA or a World Cup team, I'm just going to keep this player for 2 more games. It's not a problem, is it? They wouldn't even ask because they know that it's about respecting the World Cup and the preparations, etc. If I was Cameroon, I would have said to Onana, you either turn up on this date or just don't turn up, because it's a big competition for them. So for me, it's about respect for the competition. The club really shouldn't be getting involved in that. I personally feel that it makes the club look a bit bad.
Whereas I'm the other way entirely. It's nothing to do with the country for me in that respect. For me, it is literally just about the fact that he's been called up, and he hasn't been good enough. Tone. People can sit there and say
no, I know that
against the league, but in Europe, he's cost us. He's the reason why we're no longer in it. So, for me, and NT, to be fair, has tried to come in, being nice about it. He's put here. He's fallen out with the Cameroon national team. It's not a surprise he stayed. Well, this is the thing, though. He did fall out with them. He retired. They talked him into coming back. If he's that bothered about not playing for the Cameroon team, then you just stay retired. You don't go, yeah, go on, then we'll come back and play. So this is the problem. He's told them he's going to go and play. And now he's going, yeah, but we're going to have this conversation about I was retired and I didn't think I was going to play for you, but now I am. So I'm just going to turn up and then somehow miraculously potentially play a game 24 hours later. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous for me. He didn't have to go back and he's chosen to. And for me, I just think it's entirely unacceptable. And if I'm honest, I very rarely agree with some of the things that I see out there on Twitter, but I think he's scared. I think if Bay India comes in, he reckons he might come back from the AFCON and he might be the one that has to sit on the bench and doesn't have the ability to get back in. I think he's absolutely petrified of the fact that that's what's going to happen.
Can I throw a point in?
Sorry?
So can I throw a point in? Does anybody here actually believe?
I don't want to bring Charlie back in.
Yeah, does anybody actually believe that Ten Hag's not just going to pick Onana straight away as soon as he's back?
He would. He
definitely is.
He would. It's a £50 million investment.
Yeah.
And number 2, he's Ten Hag's boy. He's Ten Hag's
So if
guy.
I'm being dear, I'm asking some serious questions of Ten Hag.
I'd be putting in a transfer request if I weren't playing on Monday.
Yeah, me too. Absolutely. I might do it for him. Okay. John Commode, what's going on at the club? You might be forgiven for thinking the club's not been run well. And NT just backing up his point. He's not bothered about playing for the Cameroon, which is fine. So just retire again. And then you haven't got to worry about it. And they can pick a player that actually wants to play for them. So there we go. I think it's mad. But anyway, over to Wigan now, which I had to go and do research. Normally I can just sort of come on here and blag a show. But for this one, I had to try and have a little look and see what's going on. So it seems for you, Charlie, that I mean, what sort of side are you going to be expecting? We've heard that it's there's no Tom Pearce, there's no Jason Kerr. Stephen Humphreys missed your last game against Barnsley, and he's your top goal scorer. So, if he's not available, that could obviously be a bit of a nightmare. No Scott Smith either. But you did bring Luke Robinson back from St Johnstone, who's registered and seems able to come on and play. He came on in the draw against Barnsley. Obviously, you beat Danny B, 2-0 in the game just before Barnsley, which ended. That was the 1-5 that Dan was talking about there. 4 league games without a win before that. 18th in the league as it stands, 4 points off of the relegation zone with Reading, which is, of course, where Charlie Savage has gone to. You've lost 4 at home, 6 away, won 7 at home, but 3 of those games away, and drawn 1 at home. So your home record's really good, which is got to be good news for you. It's much better than your away record. Talk to me about your team. What sort of lineup would we be expecting?
Yeah, I mean, we've got to go back a few years, and I don't know how much people know about the situation at Wigan, but during your sort of COVID time, we were under ownership of a Hong Kong consortium, and it was very murky. We didn't quite know who was in charge, and then overnight it was transferred to one of his friends, and essentially when it got transferred, the plan was we're going to put them into administration and we're going to try and get out of this club. He didn't want anything really to do with us. And so overnight we were plunged into administration, and we lost everything. We lost the training ground, all of our academy products we had to let go. Joe Gellart, who ended up going to Leeds, Jensen Weir, who ended up going to Brighton, Alfie Devine ended up going to Tottenham. So we lost a lot of talent there, and we had nothing left in the club. And essentially when we were going through the administration, we lost our manager, Paul Cook, who obviously had that very famous victory over Pep Guardiola's Man City, and I think knocked their way to a quadruple or a treble, whichever one they were on for that one. So yeah, we came very, very close to losing the club at that point. And then a Bahrain ownership came in and took over us, and they said, we're the saviors. We're going to take you back. This is our plan. Premier League is on the cards. And we're going, okay. And it was a bit of a PR stunt-ish. And then we started to hear that wages weren't getting paid. And we're thinking, we've just gone through administration. Like, what's all this about? This is so fresh. And then it started to be wages aren't paid again this month. Then wages aren't paid again. And then the EFL were on our backs, and they were saying, if you don't pay 125% of your monthly wage bill into this account, you will get docked points. And then we'll go into, Will Grigg, who could forget? It was Kyle Walker messed that one up. The ball got played by Callum Elder, and Kyle Walker missed it, and then Grigg scored. But for the Bahrain ownership, it got very, very messy, and we ended up having a bit of a meeting at the stadium with a few fans, and I went to that, and I was sat opposite the chair. He was the chairman, Talal, and he's trying to get something in at Reading. And there was a big sense in the room that when this guy was talking, we couldn't really believe a word he's saying, but also you have to believe it because he's the chairman. And it was a very difficult situation, but essentially we managed to force him to sell, but we're also less than a week away from losing the club at that point. And Mr. Danson, who has a huge dealing in the rugby, ended up coming in and saving us. So very grateful for him. And the rugby and the football are now kind of starting to mix in a bit more, which I like. They're both Wigan. Rivalries aside, it's both Wigan. Great for the town, so it needs to be done. But essentially with that, we ended up losing a lot of our squad as well. We had to let go of a lot of players, and we've had to promote a lot of academy players. And at the start of the season, we had to start on -8 points, which is outrageous. We got relegated from the Championship. That's worse off. And then the EFL hit us with a -8 deduction for failures of the owners. Nothing to do with the football club outside of the ownership, and very frustrating. But I didn't expect us to clear that -8 as fast as we did, but the young players have done sensationally well. And you look at your Charlie Wyke and your Stephen Humphreys, more experienced players, they've really dragged us through. But our centre-back pairing are both 20. Charlie Hughes, academy product, and Liam Morrison, who we've got on loan from Bayern Munich's reserve team, he's only 20. And they've been really, really good. So when you look at us saying that we're in 18th, yes, we are. But we also started on -8, so really we should be 9th or 10th. And I think we've got the most wins outside of the top 8 or 9 teams in League One, and we're doing very, very well. But yeah, it's obviously we're below average on a lot of stats, but it's a young team. So like you're talking about there, a lot of the players that are out, we've still got a lot of talent. So our goalkeeper who will play will be Sam Tickle. He's in England under 21. He's not actually got any minutes for them. The last international break, he had to come home with an injury. Like I said, the 2 centre-back pairings are both 20. We've got Sean Clare at right back, who I imagine will start. He's been playing at Charlton for a while. And Stephen Sessegnon, I assume he's going to be at left back. Yes, we've recalled Luke Robinson from St. Johnstone, but he's also still trying to fit in with this squad. He hasn't really played much since the admin season, so in 2020. So I think we'll go with Sessegnon. And then our midfield pairing is going to be Liam Shaw, who's on loan from Celtic, and Babra Diko, who's a academy product of ours. Really, really talented. But they're the only 2 that we've actually got fit and available. Scott Smith's out for 4 weeks with a ankle injury, I think it is, or a calf injury. And then Matt Smith, who came from Arsenal's youth team, he was out with a hernia operation. So we're not going to have him back until another month or so, I think. And then in front of him, Marshall Godo, I think we'll start that one. He's from Fulham's youth team, played a lot in the Premier League 2 last year. Very, very direct player. We've watched him develop a lot. This is his first professional season, but he's very, very direct. And if we can get him on the wings, the way he cuts in, and he likes to take on his man. So I don't know who you're going to be playing at wing back, or at full back, sorry, but it's going to be quite challenging for them because he's very low center of gravity player and quite exciting to watch. Then we've got Tello Asgard, I imagine will start as well. Norwegian player. He's actually born in Liverpool, I think, but he hosts or he represents Norway. Great player. He's one that kickstarted our FA Cup season this year with a goal at Exeter. Had a huge goal against Blackburn a few years ago. Very, very talented player. Quite tall. He's 6'2", I think, or something. So he's quite a tall player. Very physical. He's stocked out a lot. Which when a lot of our academy players come through, they're all quite small build. He's one that's managed to actually bulk himself out. So he's having quite an exciting season. And then Jordan Jones will probably take the left wing because Stephen Humphries is out. He's very, very straight. He's been at Wigan for a while now, a few seasons. But he went on loan to Kilmarnock. It wasn't really working for him there. I didn't have much hope for him when he came back. I just didn't really know how he'd fit in. But very good player. Again, very direct. Gets a lot of our assists. Not really a goal scorer, but on crossing, very, very good and loves to take his man on. And then up top, I reckon we'll go with Charlie Wyke, who in and itself, great to have him in the football field and actually playing after everything that he went through with his cardiac arrest. And he's fallen a little bit out of favour from sort of September onwards, but he's a number 9 that I really like, just somebody that very physical, up top, can get on the end of crosses, a poacher. And I think that's what we've kind of missed at times this season. So I would probably say we're going to start Charlie Wyke and not our 2 shots on target all season, Josh McGuinness. I think we'll probably leave him on the bench.
And to be fair, he scored a few goals for you this season as well, hasn't he? He's got 7 goals, which I think is just one less than Stephen Humphries, who's your top goal scorer anyway. So it's still a good option to have there.
Yeah,
for sure. So formation-wise, that'll be, I tried to work it out based on looking at what your team is. So is that going to be a sort of a 4-2-3-1 sort of formation you've got going on there?
most likely. And then it all depends on whether Sessegnon or Claire go down the wings. Claire likes to play the inversion and so does Sessegnon. But if one goes up, we usually then slot to a back 3 and then it can go to like a 3-4-3-ish scenario. So Sean Maloney's got them playing good football, a lot better than what Colo Torre had us playing about a year ago. I don't know if you followed along with that when Torre was our manager, but it was dire. Maloney's a manager that needs time. So look, our season's not going to hang on progression in the FA Cup. Our season's very much dictated by stay safe in League One. But I do think that he's got us playing some exciting football at times, and we're quite good on the counter, quite direct. I don't know how much you sort of into your stats, but I like my little stats. But we're below average a lot on shots and shots on target. We've actually got the least shots on target in League One, but our conversion rate for those is the highest. So we've only had 70 shots on target all season, but scored 35. It's the best conversion rate in the league. So if we can get a chance in front of goal and actually hit the target, we have a pretty good chance of scoring it. And I'll be honest, I'm quite glad that Onana's in the frame for it and not Bayinda. I know nothing about Bayinda. I've never really seen him play, but I've seen Onana play, and at times, not the best. But I just wanted to touch as well on your point before about Onana. I'm an outsider. I'm not really a Manchester United fan. I used to watch them a few times. My family's United fans, so I used to go a few times and seen some great goalkeepers. I think there's a little bit of disrespect there, not only to sort of Manchester United and Bayinda, but to Cameroon as well. And whoever their secondary goalkeeper is, you've got Onana going, I want to keep my place at Manchester United and play these games. Bayern is obviously going to be a little bit frustrated at that because he wanted to play. And then you've got Cameroon. They're probably their backup keeper's not too sure. So I wonder how much of a sort of a hero complex that Onana's got here. And is he then going to overthink it in the Wigan game? And I'll be honest, the Wigan game isn't a game that you want to try and overthink it. You don't want to come screaming out for a corner to try and make a case and then make a mess of it, because it's just gonna, you're just gonna look a bit foolish. So yeah, I think the whole Onana situation's not great. Hopefully it'll play into our hands, but yeah, I would have assumed that Bayenda would have been starting this one.
Yeah, I think the world would have expected Bayenda to be winning there for something. Otherwise, why did he bother coming to us? Let's not forget we're talking about someone who starts internationally at times for Turkey as well. It's not like he's just some random that we've taken off the street somewhere to come and play for us. So yeah, absolutely. Well, that's really good. There's some good info in there. Tony, we're going to come to you in just a second, but a little quiz question for you as well, because Manchester United, Charlie, have won 18 of the 19 games that have been played against Wigan, and all of those have come since 2005 when Wigan were promoted to the Premier League. There was only one time, obviously, that we did not beat you, and that was the time when you beat us. You beat us 1-0 in 2012. But can you remember who scored the goal?
Yes.
Who was it then?
Sean Maloney, the man in our dugout.
The manager, absolutely.
Man in charge. Great goal, by the way. It was they've been replaying it a lot on the Wigan Twitter this week, and I love watching that one just as much as I love watching Ben Watson's header against City in the final. You can just, when you think about it, I can just picture where he was and his shots. So we've got Marshall Godo, who can hit from range, Jordan Jones, and if Stephen Humphreys does it, he's been doing them shots all year. So if Humphreys plays, hopefully he can try and reenact that one.
And this is what I mean when we talk about things like the FA Cup and why it is so special, because you can already, I mean, I come at this from a journalistic point of view. Quite frankly, you can already see the story, can't you? If Wigan go on to beat us, the only player to have scored and won a game for Wigan against Man United has now masterminded a win for the Little League One side against the Premier League side to mean that we can't win it. And the reason why that was an important thing is because obviously 2012 was the year that Manchester City, 15 seconds after our final whistle, went at Sunderland. Obviously, Aguero had somehow managed to get past QPR's defences and whack in a goal that meant that they had the goal difference win, which was somewhat on the depressing side for us. So there we go. You see, if we'd have drawn that game, it never would have mattered. So cheers for that. But there we are. So obviously you've had the opportunity to talk a little bit about the side that you think we are going to play out there. You didn't get the chance to speak much more about the rest of the squad though. So, you know, thinking about some of these others like Maguire, Malacia and Mount, do you think any of those three could be needed potentially going into a game against Wigan? I mean, you said that you'd like to see some of the youngsters being given a chance, or is this somewhere where the likes of Garnacho, who's obviously just won the Player of the Month for December, is it going to be a case of, you know, maybe Højlund needs to come back? And what are you looking for in terms of the squad? Because the team against Nottingham Forest just weren't it. They weren't at the races. So what needs to change in order for us to go out there and not let Sean Maloney be the history maker?
I think with United this time round, we need to be quite strategic about things and obviously be a bit sensible, because even though this game is a chance for us to let our young players have a chance and obviously some of our fringe players have a chance, this is the only competition we're in. We've got to kind of figure this is a big game for us. As much as it is for Wigan, it's a big game for us as well, because we lose this, we've got nothing. And I'd mix it up with experience and obviously a few youth players just to shore things up. Like Johnny Evans would be perfect in a game like this. His experience would be great in a game like this. I think Martinez, I don't think Ten Hag would risk Martinez coming back in a game like this. I think he'll wait till Spurs before he plays him again. I'd love to see Ahmed start. I think Ahmed and Garnacho should be starting on Monday, in my opinion. Where I could 100% see Anthony playing now at right wing, because he'll play, like Dan said, he'll play the strongest team he possibly can. I don't think he's going to afford playing young youth players. I'd love to see Mainu and Casemiro get a run out together, see what they could do. The thing is, this is the first game in a while where in my head, I've kind of got like this theory of what's going to be the team. But in reality, I know what the team is already. If that makes any sense, I kind of know we're going to go for our strongest lineup, available lineup. However, I'd be looking at a few things. Højlund will definitely play on Monday because Martial's not fit. Rashford won't play up front again after last week because he didn't really do much in that area. But for me, Ahmed has to start on Monday. That's the one player that, besides being there, Ahmed for me has to start.
Just on Amad Diallo there. Interesting you say he needs to start because when we were in the Championship last season, he was with Sunderland.
Yeah.
I put him down as one of the best players that we played against all season. I thought that level was incredible for him. I think his numbers spoke for themselves and he was great. And he terrified our defense when he played against us. And that was a defense that we had Jack Watmore in it, and he ended up going to Preston, but he was our centre-back. He was 26. He was an experienced head in the back line, and he had him kind of ice skating a little bit at the back. And I think if Diallo plays against us, I think he could be in for a lot of success. I've not really seen him take the step up to the Premier League as much, but against these sort of like lower league teams, Diallo is more than capable.
I think also as well, we can't keep justifying Anthony starting every week. He's not scored a goal or had an assist in the Premier League all season. You can't; those numbers aren't justifiable anymore. And ultimately, we can't keep picking players based on failure. You know what I mean? Not putting the markers to warrant the price tags and things like this. Biyinde should be starting a game like this. Ahmed should be starting a game like this. But they won't. Ultimately, I know Onana and Anthony will be starting on Monday.
Yeah, I mean, NT, agreeing with you guys. I feel it could be Garnacho on the right, Rashford on the left. Anthony's done experience since the last competition we're still in. They would like to see Ahmad starting, to be honest with you. If it was Rashford on the left with Alejandro on the right and hopefully Højlund up top, I wouldn't be too upset with that, and Ahmad to come on when he needs to. So Dave, on the other hand, is excited to see Ahmed on Monday because he liked the Championship last season. And indeed, he was so much better John's just said it. Ahmed was one of the few players who came out with credit from the Forest game. And it's surprising how many people have said that he's done more in the 30 minutes that he's been on the pitch than Anthony has on the 20.
It's not hyperbole either. It's not hyperbole. He genuinely had a better 30 minutes than Anthony's had all season. And it's not me trying to be it's not me going on Anthony hate rant. Honestly, he genuinely was 10 times better than Anthony has been all season.
Yeah, it's been pretty poor. Dan, so we're up against a sort of a 4-2-3-1 formation, as Charlie's mentioned there, which isn't a million miles off of what we would play. Some might say we're a 4-2-3-1, some might say we're a 4-2-1-3, depending on how you're feeling about it. What do you expect going into this game against Wigan? Because let's have it right, Nottingham Forest sat back a bit more. They didn't come out at us like Villa did. When Villa came at us, that opened up more space. We got in behind with comparative ease than we did against Forest. What do you think is going to be the key here in this game against Wigan? Because I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit worried if they sit back and sit deep, it could be another one of those games if we don't get an early-ish sort of goal.
My issue's going to be the same as what it's been even in the bigger games. How well Wigan can counter-attack to how well we can defend the counter-attack. We haven't been doing it for months and months and months. We keep emptying out our midfield and we look really, really suspect every single time that we play against any team that can break with any sort of efficiency. And it's a lesson that we don't seem to be learning. So I get that it looks like we're playing a double pivot when they line up, but as soon as the game kicks off, that double pivot disappears. The second midfielder always goes wandering, and then we get ourselves into trouble. That's my biggest worry. It's just how well Wigan counter-attack. If they can string a few passes together.
Do you see Casemiro coming in and being that second person to be there to try and put a more solid double pivot? Or do you think in a game against Wigan, which are a lower side, that you'd expect that maybe there'd be the possibility of just having the one and actually having more going forward actually could prove to be a better way of breaking them down.
Me personally, I think it comes down to setup. It's irrelevant of who's there. You've just got to stick to what you're setting up to, and players go missing too much. I'm hoping he brings in Casemiro and Kobe Minu. Minu can go forward a little bit because he's not a deep line midfielder. Casemiro is probably better at that, and the two of them would be good together. But all because it's Wigan doesn't mean to say that we can empty the midfield out. We'll get punished. You'll get punished at any level of football if you're going to empty your midfield out and leave runners to be able to go into that space. No matter whether you're against a League Two side, Vanarama Championship, whatever it's called these days, you're going to get punished by it because football's universal. No matter what league you're in, once you hit a certain level, you play for these positions. I'm dreading, like, if Wigan have got anything about them, they're licking their lips at this fixture. They've watched our last 5 games and they've gone, there are massive gaps that we can cut through here. And we saw a game, it's probably about 2-3 months ago against Brighton, where they saw a weakness about 20 minutes in, and then for the next 60 minutes, they hit that weakness and nothing changed and they beat us. And that's my worry. It's that if Wigan can sniff out the weakness that everybody else has seemed to found quite easy, we're going to have problems, whether it's a League One side, League Two, Championship, it doesn't matter. You have to do the basics correct, and we're not doing the basics correct. And this is my issue with the picking of the starting 11. Like, we sit here and we say, we'll go with his strongest 11. Strongest 11 has constantly let him down this season, but he keeps picking it. So why are you keeping picking the same strongest 11? It's not working. So, me personally, I'm depending on Højlund's fitness. I think Ahmad could start on the right with Garnacho on the left and Rashford through the middle, all on Højlund's fitness, depending thingy. But I said it at the weekend. I didn't know whether he was registered or not. I would have started Hugo just because he's a normal centre forward, and I get he's a youth player, and I get it's a big step up in this, that, and the other. But at least he's familiar with the position, and we know that we could probably play off him. He makes different runs to what Rashford would make because playing centre forward's his position. I just think he needs to do something different, but I don't think he's going to do anything different. And then it's just going to come down to individual errors again. Or do we make the mistake and leave them? I called it on the show we did the other day. I think Onana's going to make a mistake, and I think that it's going to look really bad on Ten Hag because of the way it's gone, because of the way we've kept him behind and we've desperate for him to play. If he makes a mistake and we lose, then there's going to be ramifications for that because it was Ten Hag and Onana's choice to do that. My other issue with this game is, and I'm not saying that this is what the players will do, if there are players in that changing room that aren't happy, if you down tools against Wigan in a way you don't play very well and you lose, I think you've solved the problem of Ten Hag, to be honest. So it'd be interesting to see if they're up for it. We've seen today, look at Sunderland. They ended up losing, was it 3-0 in the end? I didn't catch the end.
Yeah.
But the first 20 minutes, they was at it. They were playing for the crowd. There was determination. Are we all confident we're going to see that from Man United on Monday?
No,
I'm not.
We're not. You just never know. You never know which side's going to top up. But it's interesting when you mentioned Hugo. That's an interesting shout. I would have potentially shouted Shoretire because he's had at least a little bit of first team experience as well.
We got McNeil back as well.
But my argument would be, well, yeah, I mean, he's back, but I think they're looking to ship him out somewhere else. And I think this is the thing. If he's not going to play his backup goalkeeper who's had, something like 400 international appearances, he's got absolutely no chance of playing poor old Joe Hugill, who's not even seen the bench yet, I don't think. So, yeah, it's frustrating. Mr. Doom, which can I just say is one of the best names I've seen coming in here ever. Like you could be one of my superhero villain type names. Yeah, I absolutely love this. So you're late for the party. What did you miss? And then you ask the question, who is here for opposition in-depth team news? And that's what you've missed, mate, because we have already done that. We've been going for 49 minutes. So I'd love to give you the potted one, but just go back and watch it from the start, mate. We won't be here when you're finished, but crack on. It's absolutely fine. That's the beauty of the internet. Or you could just watch us live now and then go back and watch what you missed. So there you go. If you're desperate for the in-depth team news, it's around about 15 minutes into the stream. So there we go. Right. Yes, I'm like, there has been a bit of to and fro going on there in the old comments. I see that, but everyone's allowed an opinion. You know, we're not going to get involved in gatekeep too much. As long as you're playing nicely and not being horrible to each other, that's absolutely fine. You can believe that Mason Mount needs to be put out to pasture if you want to, and NT can believe that he is God's gift to attacking midfielders. It's absolutely fine. It's allowed. You can have opinions and still like each other. It's a wonderful thing. Charlie, couple of interesting sort of questions, or at least I hope they're interesting. Otherwise, people turn off. Who do you think you have in your squad that could cause Manchester United problems based on what you've seen? And equally, is there anybody in our squad that actually has you worried? Are there any players there? You mentioned Ahmad already, obviously being quite good at Sunderland. Is there anybody else there who actually worries you, or are you feeling a bit more confident than perhaps a League One side should have the right to, considering our inconsistent nature?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm under no real illusion. Manchester United are the massive favourites here, and if we could get a replay again at Old Trafford, huge for us. Like we were talking before about sort of revenue and the money and the prize money. A replay at Old Trafford will be massive for us, but I'm under no illusion. I think Manchester United are definitely the favourites for this. But I think when you're looking at players that I worry about slightly, Garnacho, I think he's majorly talented. I don't know how old he is now, but when he's 26, 27, I think he's going to be one of the world's best. So he's going to be very difficult to play against. And if you are going to play a Casemiro, he's been there, done that, won Champions Leagues, won La Ligas, won you know what. He's very, very smart footballer. And we're a very, very, very young team, especially in the midfield. And so I think that he's going to be able to play on that a little bit and just outsmart and know which balls to play and how to just break us down quite quickly. I think Casemiro is going to be very difficult to play against. As with Rashford, you got to look at, he's an experienced player now. He isn't young. He's been there. He's done that. Should be hitting the levels. And I think when you're looking at him going up against our fullbacks, it should be a breeze for him, to be honest. But my thing that I can get a little bit confident about with Manchester United is sometimes desire and heart. And I think that Wigan are probably going to play with more desire and more heart than United will be able to bring to the DW. And it's something that I think we've seen all season with United is if they don't want to turn up and they don't really want to play, a lot of them at the time, they're just walking around and moping. And Wigan are a team that will hurt you for that. And with the players that we've got, Martial Godo, he's young. Like he's young, he's hungry. He's in his first professional season. He's really broke onto the scene in League One. And I think that if he gets a sniff at being able to run into the box and take on his man and take a shot away, he's going to do that. I wouldn't feel like pessimistic, Charlie. Maybe a couple of leagues players a bit capable of beating the odds. Yeah, like United should be able to do it, but I think Wigan. Yeah, Martial Godo, I think, is going to be one of the real bright sparks for us. Tello Asgard, like I said, he's a very big physical player. He's not going to be able to be brushed off the ball that easily. So he's going to be somebody. And also, we've got a player in our squad who won the FA Cup with us back in 2013, and Callum McManaman. Since winning the FA Cup, he's dropped down a league. He's been to Tranmere. He's been elsewhere, retired, and then he's come back. And I wasn't too sure how he would fit back into the sort of League One squad. I didn't know how much he'd be able to do for us, but he's still got the legs. He's still got the energy. And I think he's 32 maybe. He's still taking on his man and running past them, winning free kicks high up the field. Instead of sort of your gung-ho football that he was doing way back in the day for us, he was just trying to get forward. He's a little bit smarter now. And if he can win a free kick on the edge of the box, that I don't know if anybody watched the Barnsley game, but we were really struggling to hit the target in that. McManaman wins us a very, very smart free kick on the outside of the box, and we score a worldie of a goal from it. It was just a bit of magic, and that's what ended up us getting a point against Barnsley, which Barnsley are high flying in the league. I think they're in the playoff promotion places, so we needed something special, and McManaman was huge in that, and he came on as a second half sub. So yeah, I think McManaman could, if he can do anything against United, he'll have done it against Man City and against Man United, and he's the kind of player that feeds off that kind of hunger and desire. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm so excited for this one, no matter which way it's going to go. The DW is a sellout. We've sold all our tickets. It's the highest league. It's the highest crowd since we played Manchester United last time, I think, or a while ago. So It's going to be huge for us. Great for the city, great for the town. Sorry, great for all our players. And there's a lot. The one thing I am quite interested in, Charlie Hughes has been tipped with a move to West Ham in the Premier League. Sam Tickle, our goalkeeper, tipped with a move to Everton. And there's a few people looking at a lot of our young players. If we can pull off something against Manchester United on TV and our young players can really step up, I'm really excited. Or I don't want them to leave, but I'm really intrigued to see what happens in the summer and who starts to sniff around a lot of our players, because we're going to have to be a team now that relies on sort of player transfer sales and trying to get a lot of money for them just to be able to survive. We're still holding on to the sell-on value from Anthony Robinson when he's gone to Fulham. If he moves, we get something like 20% over 2 million of it. It's a complicated thing, but the millions that we could get from that is what potentially could save a club like ours. So yeah, like I was saying before, this is a massive game for Wigan in all aspects, and we've nothing to lose. I think we can only ever gain from this as a club. So no matter what it is, I'm excited.
Absolutely. And you talk about, we put this up, but Dave's saying that something Rashford won't bring to the DW Stadium, hunger or guile. And maybe that's because he's very good at persuading governments to maintain school dinners during holiday times. So that's why we know hunger. But guile, I can't help you with that one. Tone, my good friend, he's just said it. If we're not at it from the very start, it could be a problem, couldn't it? But if we get ourselves an early goal, it could be 4 or 5. It's sort of one of those, isn't it? It all depends on how we start this match.
100%. I can see it going 2 ways. I can see us either running away with it, absolute. We turn up and we just blow Wigan away, which I know a lot of people expect us to, just based on league positions and things like that, and ability of squads. Or I could see Wigan winning this game. If we don't show up, it doesn't matter how good a player is, how good a squad is, how much they're worth, what league we're in. You can't buy hunger and desire in a one-off fixture in a competition like this. One set piece, one magical shot, an error, things like that. It can all count to a Wigan win, which wouldn't be. I wouldn't come here. The next show, if that scenario happens and I'll come here, I wouldn't be shocked, because it's just the story of our season, where we go into a game with expectation, we come back, we leave the game with more questions than answers to a lot of things, and it's going to be intriguing. I'm going to be intrigued until the lineup comes up on 7 o'clock on Monday, to be fair.
And the annoying thing about that is we won't know that until around about 7 o'clock on Monday evening. So quite a while to wait for it. Well, listen, I've really enjoyed it. It's been a really good hour. But there is one last thing we need to do. We've spoken about what we think might happen and all those sort of things, but it's that time to put your money where your mouth is, and tell us what you think the score's going to be and how you think it's going to go. Lots of us saying, NT's already said what you just said, Tone, that it can go 1 or 2 ways. Nobody seems to be thinking that this is going to end up as a draw. So it doesn't look like there's going to be a replay at Old Trafford. Dave saying United went into the Forest game thinking it was a walk in the park, and we all know that turned out. I don't even think it is just they turn up thinking it's going to be a walk in the park. I think this picture's got more of a possibility of that. I think the Forest game, it was just, we can't break teams down at the minute, because we struggle with getting the ball to our attackers and giving Højlund a chance when he's not being marked, when he is being marked, because he's got 3 or 4 people around him. Like, it's not easy. We don't have David Beckham anymore. So there we go. So Dave's gone 1-0 United. Do you think we're going to sneak a little cheeky win there? Probably a Scott McTominay 89th minute winner, just to shut everybody up for a bit. Tony, we'll start with you first. What do you think is going to be the score?
Even though I said it could either be a whitewash or a Wigan sneaky win, my brain's saying 1-0 United. Kobe Mainu with the early goal. Gets his first goal for United senior team. I'd like to see Kobe get a goal.
Very nice. All right, well, there we go. Charlie, what do you think the score is going to be?
We're notorious for being a second half team. Our second half starts, like, winning the second halves are way better than the first half. We usually start quite slow, but obviously this is a bit of a different game. FA Cup, a little bit of a different jeopardy to the league, so I expect us to start a bit different, but give me a 2-2 all day. Make it exciting. Make it something that everybody can get up out of the seats on, and give us a replay at Old Trafford, because I think that would be a little great day out for for all the Wigan fans. So yeah, a 2-2 I would go for. I'd be happy with that.
And Charlie going for a 2-2. John Commode's gone 3-1 to United, but he does think we often concede first. So that's something to look forward to. Dan, what say you, my friend?
I'm genuinely worried. I think we're going to concede, and I think we're going to concede first, and then it's going to be, can we break them down before the end? I'm convinced that it's going to be a draw. I think it's going to be 1-1. And I genuinely think they'll score first, and we're going to need somebody like Johnny Evans to come up with a goal in like the 85th minute to rescue the draw. I've just honestly got a horrible feeling about this one.
It's interesting that I spoke to Tone and said nobody thinks it's going to be a replay, and then literally the pair of you just went, all right, we'll have a replay then.
I should have said that. I've jinxed us now.
No, I've just got a horrible feeling. And then you have to take into account, which not a lot of people are taking into account, there is no VAR. And because obviously it's at Wigan. So then you've got to take in human error. And these boys haven't got up and in around the referee in the right way for seasons at United. And I imagine they're probably better at Wigan. So they'll be able to play the ref a bit better than we do. So I don't know. It would not shock me at all if we're sat here tomorrow night and it's finished 1-1 and there's another fixture in January to play.
Well, there you go. Before we finish, I have one final little brain teaser for you all to have a little guess on, because in the year 2007-2008, we won our 10th Premier League title. And we won that at Wigan, which was a wonderful moment. Who was the manager for Wigan? Can anyone remember?
Paul Jewell? No, not Paul Jewell. No. It weren't Roberto Martinez at that point. No.
Not.
I'm so...
Oh, lads, it's a Man United channel.
Steve Bruce.
Steve Bruce.
He was touted to come back. After we got rid of Torre, he was on the cards to come back, and no, I'm okay. I didn't want him.
It was a hell of a game. It was the one where Emerson Boyce fouled Wayne Rooney in the first half, and Ronaldo stepped up, scored the penalty. Scholes, people were upset because they thought he should have been sent off for a second yellow offence on Antonio Valencia, Wigan's greatest export. And then, of course, somebody came on and scored the winner, also known as Ryan Giggs. But why was that match important for Ryan Giggs?
Is his 900th appearance for Man United?
Close. It was he equalled the appearance record for Sir Bobby Charlton of 758 at that point, and then he scored as well on it. So quite a
was
day.
that the goal that meant that he scored in somewhere like 11 consecutive seasons as well?
I know. I think it might have been the West Ham goal.
He was ridiculous. He scored in every season, didn't he? So honestly, the longevity of that fella, the biggest outlet for yoga that there ever will be, for sure. Listen, been brilliant. Really enjoyed it. Tone, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you as well, Dan. Charlie, feel free to give your little podcast a shout out, because I know that we tagged you as Central Wigan, but that's just you. You actually have a different podcast, so feel free to shout that out now.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, so Central Wigan is just me. It was something I started during COVID and just ran with that. A lot to say about Wigan, so I needed somewhere to channel it, and so that's why Central Wigan went. But yeah, I also do the Progress with Unity podcast, and that's something that's hosted by another Barry, but Barry Worthington. So yeah, it's the panel one that we do for Wigan, and we usually do them on Wednesdays and Sundays. So that's something to check out if you're interested.
Superb. Well, there we go. You've been a delight to have on, Charlie. Maybe at some point in the next few seasons, our paths will cross again on that one. But thank you so much for joining us. Dan as well, over there. I can never point in the right direction. It's quite frustrating. But Dan, good to have you here too as well. What's happening on the All 4 brands? Well, big news has happened. I don't know how much you guys have seen it on Twitter, but obviously the All 4 brand has created a brand new channel. It's kicking off on Monday. It's called All 4 Women's Football, and it will literally be as it says on the tin. But rather than being a fan channel in the way that All 4 United and All 4 United WFC are, this is very much based on getting the inside scoop from people within the game, players, managers, journalists, that sort of thing as well. Fans are welcome, of course. We massively encourage debate. So do come through. It's the Women's FA Cup. They have their turn next week, so we'll be looking at that. And of course, North United WFC will be back as well. 7 o'clock on Monday. So 7 o'clock Monday, North United WFC, 8:30, North United Women's Football. Not North United, North Women's Football will be there. That's because I'm not hosting that one. Balls it up straight away, won't I? And then we'll be back at some point in the midweek. Did you say Tuesday or Wednesday, Dan? When did you say you were doing?
I think we said Tuesday.
Tuesday, brilliant. So come back Tuesday, and we'll either be celebrating or crying into our cake. So we'll see. Come and see us then. But until then, have a cracking weekend. We'll see you all again. Cheers again, Charlie. Goodbye.
Thank you.